What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and it's Top 10 Thursday. This week, Link, the hero of time, turns 30 years old, and you know what? It's a little bit hard to believe that it's already been 3 decades since this amazing series burst out of the scene. Today, I wanted to try and do the impossible and go back through the pages of history to count down my picks of the top 10 Legend of Zelda games. Number 10. Skyward Sword. In his journeys, our green-tunicked hero has faced many challenges, but in Skyward Sword, the world itself can defeat him. Survival in this land is more than just how good you are with a sword. Instead, it's also about how brave you can be while soaring through the skies and taking on one tough fight after the next. What makes this game stand out the most from the rest of the series is it can be surprisingly hard. Dungeons are filled with puzzles that really test your mind, enemies have to be strategically taken down, and bosses are more complex than they may appear. As an interesting added bonus, when you beat the game, you even unlock an extra mode that's ultra difficult. The combination of unique art, well-designed areas, and intelligent foes makes this a great entry. Number 9. Phantom Hourglass. In this, our friend Link has joined a crew of pirates and is trying to hunt down a ghost ship. As usually happens, this ends up leading to a giant world-saving quest. This was released shortly after the launch of the Nintendo DS, so the developers really wanted to try and make creative use of every part of the system. Tapping the screen will make you run around, blowing on the mic can move certain objects, and you can even control smart bombs by tracing the exact path you want them to follow. While this game has a lot of tricks up its sleeve, it's more than just a pile of gimmicks. The story, wacky characters, and diverse gameplay are all great. Despite this being a tiny handheld that can fit in your pocket, it's definitely a big adventure. Number 8. Twilight Princess. Often considered to be the darkest game in the franchise, Twilight Princess opens with a bleak tale of a land without light. There exists 2 separate dimensions. One is a rather happy, normal-looking universe where Link grows up as a farmhand living a normal life. The parallel world of Twilight, though, is a place long since destroyed. Here, Princess Zelda is trapped, ruling over an empty kingdom. When her blighted dimension begins to bleed over into ours, it's up to us to find out what exactly it takes to become the hero of time. I really enjoy the more realistic style that this game uses. From how your clothes flutter in the wind while using the hook shot, to watching a spider prepare to attack, or just seeing the subtle movements of your horse while riding. Everything about it is so real, and it makes the struggle feel more relatable. I should also mention that in this game, Link can also turn himself into a wolf to rip people to shreds. Seriously, what's cooler than that? Number 7. The Legend of Zelda. It's the original classic that started it all. With just 8 bits of processing and a lot of ingenuity, the designers managed to forever alter how the world saw gaming. Unlike other titles in the series, the first Zelda is completely focused on action. No one says where to go or what to do, everything is up to you to figure out, which makes each small victory all the more sweet. The graphics may look a little aged now, and yet there's no denying that the controls still hold up great. This formula was so far ahead of its time that even all these years later, people are still mimicking its simple yet elegant style. It's the kind of game that even if you don't finish it, it's interesting to sit down with it and just check out this legendary piece of history. Number 6. A Link Between Worlds. This is the most recent game on the list and also the title that breaks the mold of the old school Zelda rhythm. In A Link Between Worlds, it's our job to rescue the princess from an evil demon who's turned her into a painting. How you accomplish this task is totally your choice. At the beginning of the game, you're given access to a store where you can buy any item right up front. Instead of having us tackle dungeons in a specific order, you can just purchase any gadgets you like and make an adventure of your own. The freeform style is very different, but works exceptionally well. It feels like the designers trust you to have an epic experience in the giant sandbox they've crafted for us. With so many interesting secrets hidden in every nook and cranny, just exploring is half the fun, so pick a direction, start walking, and see what you discover. Number 5. Majora's Mask. Time has always been a core feature of the Zelda series' storytelling, but in Majora's Mask, it's all about the lack of time. Link stumbles into a place called Clock Town, a busy little village preparing for a giant party in 3 days. Sadly, they won't ever get a chance to kick this festival off because in 72 hours the moon is going to come crashing down, destroying the Earth. The only person who can stop this from happening is Link. Using his ocarina, he can rewind time back to the first moment when he entered town, and he needs to use this power to save the day. Basically, you need to race to beat a dungeon before the planet is turned to dust. Each time you're successful, you earn an important item that can now be carried back with you to the start of the first day and be used for your next mission. To remind you of your constant impending doom, the bottom of the screen is filled with a giant timer showing you exactly how many hours you have left to live. It creates a deep need to rush to the next area and try and conquer it as fast as possible. Overall, it's a much more serious Zelda title, but that's part of its charm. Number 4. A Link to the Past. On a rainy night, our hero awakens to find his uncle missing. Not knowing what else to do, he braves the storm to try and find him. Wandering through the flood, he comes across Hyrule Castle. Sneaking inside, he finds his uncle struck down and bleeding to death. With his final breath, he begs Link to free the princess trapped in the basement. This may sound really dramatic, but that's kind of the point of A Link to the Past. Released in 1991, this Super Nintendo game is still considered by many to be possibly one of the greatest titles ever released for the console. It had cutscenes to reveal detailed plot points, tons of weapons to choose from, and the best 16-bit soundtrack around. In so many subtle ways, the game seemed to convey a deep importance and made it seem like every little action mattered. For example, few things have ever felt more perfect in my gaming life than when I managed to gather all the pieces of a magic pendant so I could awaken the sleeping Master Sword. Seeing Link rip it from a stone and watching all the fog in the forest instantly evaporate showed such power in such a simple way. At its heart, this is why A Link to the Past will always be famous. It's a fascinating tale that will definitely last through the ages. Number 3. The Wind Waker. It's not every day that you encounter a game that has an art style so extraordinary that it can only be described as breathtaking. Wind Waker was an attempt to reinvent the Zelda brand and go in a radical new direction, and it was an experiment with a marvelous result. After visiting the gloomy land of Termina and Majora's Mask, many fans were begging Nintendo to make the next sequel a lot brighter. What we got was the shiniest, cutest, and outright most happy game yet. In this, the world is a gorgeous ocean just waiting to be sailed across. Each area we visit is a separate island with its own silly cast of characters and intricate tasks to complete. The real highlight of Wind Waker comes from its fighting. The lock-on system remains the same, but enemies all have distinct sets of weaknesses. By carefully using your gear, you can do things like freeze a foe with ice arrows or toss explosives to knock somebody's armor off, or the craziest thing of all, outright steal enemy weapons. To top it all off, this game features a rare glimpse into the Zelda lore. It gets a little bit of everything and mixes it together to make something everyone can love. Number 2. Link's Awakening. Here we have perhaps the weirdest game on the list. Link's Awakening has our hero stranded on a mysterious island. The only way he can free himself and get back home is to awaken a giant magical windfish. I bet this all sounds like nonsense, because really, it's just a great excuse to go on a grand adventure. During the early 90s, the Game Boy was a massive hit, but it lacked a lot of titles that had some depth. To fix this problem, they called upon Shigeru Miyamoto to make a Zelda game that would use every ounce of the hardware, and oh man was he successful. I am still shocked to this day that he was able to craft such a huge map and fit it on such a tiny cartridge. Link's Awakening is a very puzzle-focused game. The answers are never outright given to you. Instead, you have to find tools and figure out the solutions on your own. One particularly hard level has you being left in a multi-floored tower with broken stairs. In order to reach the upper floors, you need to find a way to use your strength gauntlet to smash pillars and cause chunks of the building to collapse and combine. Everything about this is so complex that it genuinely tests your wits. Even the ending leaves us with a bit of a riddle. I won't spoil it here, but let's just say that defeating the nightmares that possess the windfish leaves you with one more big question. Number 1. Ocarina of Time. How could I not put this at the top of the list? Ocarina of Time is nearly flawless in every way. It was one of the earliest fully open world games. It pioneered visual storytelling and even pushed hardware limits with its stunning graphics. Most importantly though, it's super fun to play. We take on the role of a small boy from the woods who's asked to investigate an evil and terrible man named Ganondorf. At the start of this game, Link is a kid, learning the ways of the world and his place in it. After discovering the Master Sword, he's transported to the future where he's an adult and now has the strength to possibly destroy Ganondorf once and for all. Unfortunately, in this future, Ganondorf has already been ruling the kingdom of Hyrule for years. Only by pure force of will is Link able to unite the sages and have a small glimmer of hope of saving the world. It's a brutal yet beautiful tale that's just as incredible today as it was when it first came out all those years ago, and for that reason, it wins my pick as the absolute best Legend of Zelda game. Did your favorite game not make the list? Got an idea for a future top 10? Leave it in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to play a little bit of Link's Awakening on my giant brick Game Boy. Seriously, look at the size of this thing. You could beat me to death with this. What am I doing with my life? This is... Thanks so much for watching. If you liked this video, maybe check out my last video. Please subscribe, and if you want, share this somewhere with your friends.